Dutch clubs have been flourishing these last couple of years, but they're still mostly regarded as development clubs. Well, I've moved the current best Dutch clubs to the Premier League to see if they can do it in the biggest league of them all. And as a Dutchie myself, I'm hoping they can prove the doubters wrong. Will they challenge for trophies or fall down the leagues? Let's start with Season 1. Well, I can say that my Dutch heart has been broken, as all 3 relegation spots have been taken up by clubs from the Netherlands. Ajax and Feyenoord did have a comfortable mid-table finish, and PSV stayed relatively clear of the relegation spots. But Twente, AZ and Sparta will be joining the championship next season. Sparta especially had a terrible goal difference of -65. But what do you expect when their best player has a current ability of only 122? That's the same as Ashley Young. But I'm still optimistic for the next season, as that is the first time the Dutch clubs can make full use of the Premier League money coming in. But I can't say they really broke the bank in Season 2. Ajax did spend a respectable 30.5 million, splashing the cash on Daniel Podence from Wolves. But PSV only spent 22 million without any headline signings. And Feyenoord was the cheapest of the Dutch Premier League clubs, spending only 14.25 million. And this lack of spending could be seen in the league table. Ajax had another mid-table finish, PSV was getting up there, but Feyenoord was relegated to the championship. Luckily, the championship had some better news for the Netherlands, as AZ was promoted straight back to the Premier League. And I can imagine spending more than Feyenoord and PSV certainly helped in their promotion bid. But Twente and Sparta had a considerably worse time in the championship, both finishing in the bottom half of the table. They did stay clear of the relegation zone, so their hope for next season is to use those parachute payments to get right back to the Premier League. Let's see if our orange competitors will show some improvement in Season 3. There's some good news and some bad news in the Premier League. Ajax had their best season yet, coming very close to European football. They've also brought in English international Conor Gallagher for 28.5 million, so they're really bringing in some proven Premier League talent. But PSV can be found near the relegation zone again, and AZ has turned into the new Norwich, going straight back down to the championship. And in the championship, they can trade places with Feyenoord, because they're coming straight back up to the Premier League. Not surprising with a player like Kukçu still in the team, getting an amazing 34 combined goals and assists in the championship this season. Twente and Sparta had another season of mediocrity, getting mid to lower table finishes. But it looks like Sparta isn't settling for that, spending over 18 million and bringing in World Cup semi-finalist Elias Chair. You know what? I'm feeling good about Season 4. Let's see how they perform. And I was right to be optimistic, because Ajax has secured his first European spot of this video. And they've certainly splashed the cash to get here, as they spent 47 million for right back Sugawara from AZ. And PSV also had their best season yet, finishing just behind Ajax. They might not have spent as much as their rivals, but you can't go wrong with signing the legend Wout Weghorst on a free. Feyenoord, however, joined AZ as a yo-yo club, going straight back down to the championship, even though they're now managed by Lopetegui. Looking at the championship, it looks like we have a classic Dutch switcheroo, as AZ has been promoted back to the Premier League. It's also a shame to see Twente just missing out on the playoffs on goal difference. With bringing in players like McGuinness, Woodman and Bogle, they're looking good for another promotion push next season. On the other side of the table, Sparta doesn't seem to be able to escape those lower half finishes, even though they're spending nearly 11 million on players like Ruben Colwill. With the upcoming 5th season being the halfway point, I'm hoping that the Dutch clubs can really push on and start challenging for some titles. Let me know in the comments down below if you think we're gonna see some orange trophy lifts in the upcoming seasons. Well, the good news is that we finally have a season where none of the Dutch clubs get relegated out of the Premier League, as AZ has finally stopped their yo-yoing. Ajax also had their first European season in the Conference League, getting pretty far, but ultimately getting knocked out by Stade Rennes in the semi-finals. But PSV and Ajax are back to mid to lower half table finishes, with Ajax having to sell Conor Gallagher to Liverpool. And I'm starting to see why both these clubs can't seem to push on, as they're both massively in the red financially. Looking at the finances for these clubs, it seems like the player wages are becoming too much for them to handle. So let's hope they can fix that for the remaining seasons so they don't have to go into administration. Back in the championship, Feyenoord had an amazing season, becoming resounding champions. Twente also had a really impressive season, getting to the playoffs and even a playoff final, just losing out to West Brom. They're showing that you can really improve with some great acquisitions, as their recent addition Freddie Woodman has gotten the Golden Glove this season. And Sparta, well, at least they're consistent, getting another lower half table finish. they might need some help from you, so tap that like button to show your support for the Dutch clubs. Season 6 was the first season in a while with 4 Dutch clubs in the Premier League, and it had some ups and it had some downs. The highlight this season was PSV, just missing out on European football on goal difference, without any really noteworthy signings. But most importantly, they finally finished above Ajax. Down the other end of the table, Feyenoord managed to survive in their first season back in the Premier League, but AZ unfortunately imploded and finished rock bottom. And the championship also didn't really have any good news for the Dutch clubs. I had my hopes up for Twente with their play-off final last season, but they joined Sparta with a mid-table finish this season. My fingers are starting to itch to defend my Dutch honor and take over one of these clubs. But they're gonna have to prove for themselves that they're more than just development clubs. Let's see if they can show it in season 7. That's more like it. No relegations this time around and Ajax getting Europa League football. And it seems like they're finally starting to understand English football, as they're using a good old 4-4-2. Even Feyenoord had a relatively comfortable season this time around, now featuring an experienced Kingsley Coman. And the good vibes continue in the championship, as AZ become comfortable champions with 101 points. Twente also got close to the playoffs again, and Sparta seems to have left the lower half of the table behind them, solidifying themselves in the middle of the pack. The Dutch momentum is really picking up now. Surely this will carry over to the next season. I mean, it's not like there's gonna be something dramatic happening, right? Oh no. The terrible finances seem to have finally caught up to Ajax, putting them into administration and sending them down to the championship. Having another look at their finances, it doesn't seem that they've been able to fix their wages or their transfer expenditures. And that wasn't the only surprise this season. AZ was the highest finishing Dutch club, finishing above PSV and Feyenoord. But they aren't really helping with getting rid of that whole being just a development club thing, as their key player is an absolutely amazing left back that came through their youth ranks. And the surprises continue in the championship, as Twente has absolutely crashed down the table, finishing just above the relegation zone. At least Sparta is still solidly mid-table. There's not a lot of things I can be proud of as a Dutch fan this season. The one thing I'm clamping onto is the fact that PSV, the club I support in real life, is the only Dutch club that hasn't been relegated yet in the Premier League. Let's hope that for the next season this still holds true. Oh, you've got to be kidding me. Not 1 but 2 Dutch clubs going down this season, leaving AZ lonely at the top. And even though PSV managed to keep a hold of wonderkid Xavi Simons, they also can escape the inevitable championship season. Let's hope they can mimic Ajax's season, as they become convincing champions with 100 points. It's also good to see that they've completely turned around their financial situation, so hopefully they can stay steady in the Premier League now. And I'm really not expecting anything from Twente or Sparta anymore, as they record another mid-table finish. 1 season left to go, let's see if the Dutch clubs can produce a final upset. And with just 2 Dutch clubs left in the Premier League, it's not a surprise that the final season also didn't include any trophies. Ajax just barely survived in their first season back in the Premier League, and I certainly didn't expect AZ to be the highest finisher in the final season at the start of this experiment. But when you're producing English internationals like this amazing left back, you deserve to be the best of the Dutch clubs. Back in the championship, I'm relieved to see that PSV has returned to the Premier League at the first time of asking. Twente also reached previous heights, as they reached another playoff final, but they lost again, this time to Brighton. Feyenoord on the other hand really struggled with their relegation from the Premier League, only recording a 9th place finish, even though they're now featuring a veteran Douglas Luiz in the midfield. And Sparta? Well, you probably could have predicted another mid-table finish beforehand. So after 10 seasons, I think we can say that while Dutch football is flourishing in real life, they've got some way to go before they will be able to dominate in the Premier League. And if you found this video interesting, check out this video for another great Football Manager experiment. I'll see you in the next video.